Good evening and welcome to Communicate with Your Education System. I'm so glad you tuned in tonight because boy have I got a special show for you tonight. I'm your host Anita Siegfried, and again we are here in the studio. This is not our normal set and you'll see why very, very soon. Let me just give you a couple of tips that I always try and do at the beginning of the show. There's something that you can do to give your kids a little bit of math interest. Sometimes it's very boring for them to try and learn addition facts or multiplication facts. Of course, subtraction and division too. But if you have egg cartons, and of course Easter just being passed and you may have these around, take an egg carton and put 2 dice in it. And you jumble them around and the dice will fall into the individual egg parts, and whatever numbers are up, you can either have the children add, you can have them multiply, you can put more dice in so that they have more to add, or you can even divide it up so that they have some division problems. There's lots of neat things to do with it. It's just a simple homemade game, but it helps teach children their math fact and it makes it fun, which is part of what we're going to be talking about tonight. Also, April is reading month, and the week of April 17th through the 22nd, you will be hearing more about this, but the governor has proclaimed that specific week reading in Pennsylvania. And a lot of different schools are holding special programs that week for their classes. Maybe they'll be having guest readers coming in. Maybe you as a parent have been asked to come in and read. They're also doing a lot of games, promotional things, anything to promote a lot of reading. So remember, April is reading month. And one thing before we go to a break, let me just remind you that wrinkles merely indicate where smiles have been. So that should give you an idea as to what we're going to be getting into very soon. So please stay tuned, and after this commercial, we'll be coming back to lots of fun. Fun. Now, my guest this evening is Mr. Ben Peruso, and Ben is the reading specialist in the Palmerton junior high school for 8th grade. He's been there for about 4 years, I guess, and just a note, last week or 2 weeks ago, he was given the Celebrate Literacy Award by the Colonial Area Reading Educators. So it's just a nice award that this man deserves because of all he's been doing in the classroom with his kids. Now we're going to be introducing you to some other guests a little bit later on, but first I just have a couple of things that I'd like to talk to Ben about. Ben, your whole theme is humor in the classroom.
Yes.
Why?
Several reasons. It was stimulated by the students, but it goes back to all the teaching colleges and all the in-services you and I have been to where somebody gets on a video and tells us, no, it's an expert, which is a guy from another town with a briefcase.
Right, 25 miles away makes an expert.
Sure, it makes him an expert. So he comes over there and we're sitting there listening to him, but most of the time we're saying, gee, I wonder if the lunch is going to be good. And they keep telling us as teachers to try to add a little levity to our work, to try to get the kids motivated. But what I found out was the unfortunate thing with humor is with all the bad humor that's out there today, the kids don't get much of a chance to know what good humor is. They're besieged by bad humors, therefore when they do their writing sometimes can get hurtful. And that's what we're trying to conquer here a little bit, to point our directions in humor to things that are good, things that are right with humor. And there are things that are wrong, and I don't say this without an unexperienced background.
Well, by incorporating humor into your curriculum then, what are you hoping to accomplish other than better writing?
Well,
what else?
First of all, if you take it into skills itself, it builds sequence in telling a story. It builds a social awareness of what could be hurtful, such as ethnic jokes that are used many times, and kids are not even sure why they're being used or how to use them, but they do that. I want to give the kids a better discerning eye when they watch television shows that perhaps are not that good. And I say it right here because I can say it. Married with Children is a terrible show.
Yes,
Wonderful actors, but it's a terrible show. Roseanne has gotten a little better, but it's still a pretty bad show. Beavis and Butthead, you have to put a disclaimer up to watch the thing. Now, anytime we have to put a disclaimer up, or the humor can't stand up to the lights, then the humor's not too good.
That's right.
So this is a way of making the kids aware of that. It's a way of getting them interested in even the rhythms of poetry, because humor does work on you choosing the right word at the right time in the right space. If it's not chosen correctly, it doesn't make it. So it's a way to introduce that.
Well, I know as a kid, I remember just back, I mean, anything from 2 minutes ago to 20 years ago, things that were funny.
Sure.
They make a much better impression on you. I mean, I think a smile lasts a lot longer than a frown does.
It does. I think it takes 6 muscles to smile and about 1,000 to frown.
That's right. That's why some people have a lot more wrinkles than others.
Yeah.
But teachers aren't supposed to be entertainers all the time, right?
No, not at all.
They can't.
And that's not what I'm advocating here. What I'm advocating is this is another good tool that teachers can use to achieve the ultimate goal, to make thinking students.
Mm-hmm.
They've got to know how to learn. And if this, you work in a happy environment, it's a lot easier to remember.
Sure.
I have a little book here with a couple of little things I brought for you to look at. Excuse me. You take, for instance, there are companies now across the nation that are paying people thousands and thousands of dollars to go to Monsanto, DuPont, AT&T, and do humor classes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's kind of funny when we have to really go out and tell people, look, you got to lighten up a bit. You got to realize there's a funny side to things.
You got to take a joke once in a while.
Yeah, excuse me, I have a little cough, and it's starting to bother me a bit.
Okay, well, all right. Let me just ask you a question, and then you can think about some things for a little bit. Where do you find the material to use for the teaching of this topic?
Where do you find the material? Ronnie, why don't you hand me up those books as a starter? Every place. There is no place you can go that you can't find material. Mm-hmm. Samuel and Friends Publications, a fine place. He ain't done right by now.
I've used those, sure.
The Male Animal. A lady like this, Irma Bomback. But more importantly, especially when it comes to jokes, read that.
World's greatest collection of clean jokes.
What was that?
Clean jokes. The best of the good, clean jokes. This is why I'm a reading supervisor. The treasury of clean jokes.
Yeah, there are millions of clean jokes out there. We don't see them many times because we get overshadowed with some of the things MTV does. Mm-hmm. We get overshadowed by the comedy clubs and what they do and accept as being funny, and we all fall prey to it, but we don't realize it. When Beavis and Butthead fish out the window and drag a grandmother across the sidewalk, it's funny till it's your grandmother.
I can honestly say I've never seen that show.
Yeah. Well, I advocate my kids watching those sometimes. Because
Just
to know
so
what
they
good
can see
humor is, they've
how
got to
bad
see
it
what
is.
bad humor
Sure.
is.
I
Yeah.
used to do that too. That's exactly what you have to do. But getting back to television too, it's a great way of getting kids to see both the bad and the good sides of humor. What's probably the best written show on TV for humor right now?
Oh, there's so many. There's so many of diverse nature. Wings is a fine written show in the sitcom vein.
How about Home Improvement?
Home Improvement is excellent at this time. It's a hot show and it's a nice show. It's truly not offensive. They do some back and forths between him and his partner, but that's nothing more than
A typical bantering, I think, between how most people would handle certain situations.
Yep. But it's clean. And they attack serious problems within the premise of the humor. When they talk about the kids having a problem with the rooms, there was an episode that they did, and 2 kids were in the room. One kid was getting a little older, and it was time to break out. And it brought up some kind of interesting things that take place in a family, and we could look at that.
And if you can laugh at it,
Oh, sure.
it makes it better.
Sure.
It's not that somebody's just yelling and screaming, but you're laughing at it and you're getting the point.
And it doesn't always have to be for the kids. There are fine adult shows that are on, too. Frasier, which would be more for
Frasier's
older
wonderful.
people. There's a host of that. There's a host of comics.
John Larroquette, too.
With the bus stop show he has now,
Right.
there's a host of characters. Steinfeld.
Oh, Seinfeld. Yeah, what a guy. And there's a new woman out, too.
I haven't
Ellen.
seen her yet.
Yeah, the female version of the Seinfeld.
Right.
But again, it's good, funny shows.
Yeah, well, it's nice to be. Why not be happy?
Right, exactly. Why be so serious all the time? All right, let's get back. Do students become competitive with each other when they're getting into this? You know, some of your assignments ask students to watch TV and or judge things or write about things? Do they get to the point of being competitive?
Well, I hope so, because each student's an individual, so I hope they're going to present their viewpoint from what they find. And then maybe look at it a bit and say, geez, the other guy has a little bit of a viewpoint too. Maybe we can do something with that.
And then they're willing to understand the other person's viewpoint. It takes a little bit of time.
Well, hopefully, but it does, but it exposes the viewpoints. We all walk a different path in life. At least I hope all my students do.
I hope the
That
different
doesn't mean
drummers
we
there.
can't walk together, though, and that's a difference.
Well, what's low humor television?
Well, in a couple of minutes, some of the kids that are our guests will be answering that question a lot better than I do.
Okay, all right. But all right, for humor then. Now I know that usually most of the research says from age 13 on is when people really start to understand humor and are able to use it to a certain degree. What age then would you start to teach humor?
I think you hit a good age there. I think from the junior highs and middle school, you have a problem with the kids in their normal adolescence, always worried about themselves a little bit and self-centered and everything else, that we look for the next person to hang the rap on, the next guy to blame. That keeps us off the hook. One of the things that drove me to this was some of the short stories that a couple of my students wrote that were truly hurtful type stories and didn't realize they were hurtful. They were trying to work to a very small audience of friends and hide themselves by pushing the other guy in the way. And I think that's what I'd like to make known to them. I think I like them to think about that. I think about the consequences of their actions, and I think that's where it counts.
You mentioned Irma Bombeck before, and there's Dave Barry. I mean, these different writers in the paper. I mean, we talked about television, but now you also have the written form. Those people are able to write for the mass and make it hilarious.
Sure, and that's a different form of comedy, as one of our kids will show you in a couple of minutes.
That's right, so we'll just hang on to that one a little bit. How do you test kids on humor?
I really don't know if the test comes on humor or comes in the general attitude that they start applying to their work.
Well, isn't that a test?
Yes, but you see, everybody is so bad. We got to put an A on this. We got to put a B on this.
No paper and pencil.
If they move from here to here, they're successful.
That's right.
Another kid may move from here to here. He's successful. She's successful. It's
and maybe that's
forward.
their individual rate, too, of success. And that's what we have to kind of gauge
Sure.
kids on. We also have to take a look at when you're looking at this, you mentioned, their rate of improvement, just the way they act, their own self-esteem, the way they perceive themselves. That usually has a lot to do with it.
Oh, sure. I know just with the wonderful students I have here with me today, that they will never look at certain types of joke again without doing. In fact, one of them told me a story on the way here. I said, geez, so-and-so said to me such and such. And I said, that's low humor. And they said, what do you mean? And then they wound up explaining to them why it was a low form of humor. So the point has been made. It won't leave. Once a child is exposed to it, they can have a great deal of effect in realizing what they should do with it and not do with it.
And one thing we want to point out, too, it's not just for reading. It's not just for language arts.
No.
You can associate humor with science, with history. You can use it to remember anything and everything. So it's definitely something that
Sure.
should be used all the way around.
Sure.
But only certain people can carry it off, though, too, at least to teach it.
We all laugh.
Right, we all laugh.
It's not a question that a teacher has to train for this or that we expect the teacher to be a comedian. That's only a few select people in the world that can occupy that position. I think if we take comedians and total them all up, no matter how many you see on television, none of them are making a living out of it. Maybe out of the whole country, we have a population, 260 million? 5,000 guys and girls are making a living out of being a comedian.
Well, you're a comedian part-time, right?
Well, I don't know. I don't know whether I'm a
Or
comedian
maybe I
part-time
shouldn't
or
say
not.
part-time, or maybe you're a comedian full-time, but you use it in the right
Until I
way.
went into teaching, which was only a few years ago, the mainstay of my life was show business. I've been an actor, a television actor.
Can I tell them what you played at one time?
Well, played a few things.
Well, but what about he was the Fruit of the Loom grapes.
Yeah. Also was the termite for Terminex.
Yes.
And a New York cab driver. So I never had a human part.
Yeah.
He said, you could screw up. We don't care if it's live.
That's right. That's exactly right. See, we all get to chuckle about that one.
But I've done over 30 movies and about 40 commercials, and I've done CBS Movies of the Week. My last 2 movies were Cotton Club in 9.5 weeks, but that's not the important thing. Because I have the background I have in comedy and still am active in comedy, I've worked for the major chains, I've worked Vegas, I've worked Los Angeles, I've worked the Caribbean. There's no place I haven't worked. I think that I can discerningly say to the kids, this is a bad show, and this is why. And it doesn't become an opinion.
That's why I'm saying not everyone can carry this off.
No, but we
because you have
all
the
laugh,
background.
and things make us laugh. And if we stop to think what triggered the laugh, sometimes it's like learning poetry. Sometimes you have to kill a poem to appreciate poems.
That's
By
exactly
taking
right.
it apart. And I think that's where the problem comes in.
Well, we're going to go to a commercial break, and we're going to come right back, and we're going to start to introduce you to some of the kids, and we're going to see what some of the humor is that they're going to be showing us. So please stay tuned. To be introducing you, or actually Ben's probably going to do more of it because he's more familiar with these 8th graders. These are all 8th grade students from the Palmerton area junior high school, and they're going to be demonstrating different techniques, things that make humor really funny. And Ben, but there's a couple of things that I think you want to talk about. I mean, before you introduce the kids, that you want to make sure that they know that humor is for everyone to laugh at, but we don't want to offend anyone, and that's probably the biggest part of humor.
And if I may, if I could just, can you get the kids on a shot? That's it.
Yep.
Would you kids, starting from Amy down there, please look at the camera and announce your name.
Yeah, camera 2.
Hi, I'm Amy Hoffman.
I'm Chris Northington.
I'm Kate. I'm Kate Woveridge.
Kristen?
I'm Kristen Roberts.
I'm Jason Border.
I'm Henry Tyler. I'm Ronnie Gouger.
I'm Trevor Siegfried. I'm Leanne Smith.
Okay. And these are our kids, and they've put some things together. Now, Leanne Smith read a book on juggling. And then followed directions. And by following the directions, Leanne was able to have a little fun and come up with something entertaining. Leanne, why don't you come up and show us a little bit of what the book showed you to do?
Okay. Well, first taught me to use juggling and to learn juggling. And I started with 1 ball and just played around with it a little bit. Once I got better at it, then I started to do 2 balls. And I got better at that. And I learned to do 3 balls. And it was all from reading a book and practicing a lot.
You have to concentrate a lot.
Yeah.
And then you could use other objects, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Is there an object in this room someplace you might be used to?
Use this.
Use the host sheet. Well,
Practice makes perfect.
terrific.
All right, Leanne. Excellent.
Okay. Here's your book, Leanne. That was good. But she went that way.
Leanne had a little help, too, I think. Yeah,
Yeah,
her
she-
dad's a pretty good juggler.
Well, ain't that what it's about? You know, family is together. Okay. And we were talking about jokes before. Jason Borger came in and he reworked 2 ethnic jokes and said, they don't have to be ethnic. That's low humor. And he came up with these 2 stories. Tell us your first joke, right to the audience there, Jason.
There were 3 men, and they were trying to get into the Summer Olympics. And guard at the gate would let them in. He said that they had to be on a team and in an event. So the first man went to a hardware store and bought a broomstick, and came back and told the guard that he was on the American team and he was in for pole vaulting. So the guard said, well, okay, and he let him in. The second man went to the hardware store and bought a metal disc, and went to the guard and said that he was on the team for discus. And the guard said, well, okay, I'll let you in. And the third man went to the hardware store and came back wrapped in barbed wire. And the guard said, don't tell me you're on the American team too. The man said, yes, for fencing.
Good, Jason. Do your second one.
There were 3 men and they were riding in a pickup truck. 2 were in the front and 1 was in the back. They were going over a bridge and a car swerved in front of them. And they tried to avoid it and went over the side of the bridge. and the truck sank down to the bottom of the river, and then about 10 seconds after that, the driver swam up. And then about five seconds after that, the other person in the front swam up too. And they looked at each other and they said, I wonder where the person in the back is. He should be up by now. Then about 5 or 10 seconds after that, he swam up, and the two said to him, where were you? What took you so long? And he said, I had trouble getting the tailgate open.
Thank you, Jace. That was great.
All right.
Okay. But you see, now, these were jokes that fell in the low humor class. And these kids could tell you, just in general. Give me something. What's low humor? Give me components of low humor. Trev.
It's hurtful.
It's hurtful. What else?
It's dirty.
It's dirty. What else?
Can't be presented everywhere. It's in a limited area.
Can only be presented in a limited area. What else? Anybody else have another one?
Presenter isn't socially acceptable. The presenter isn't socially acceptable.
The presenter is not socially acceptable. Let's go to high humor. Give me some things about high humor. Chris?
It's intelligent.
It's intelligent.
It's clean.
It's clean.
Makes people feel good.
Makes people feel good. What else?
It can be presented almost anywhere.
Could be presented anywhere. Presenter is accepted socially. Sparks creativity. Right? That's wonderful things. There's a difference. I think when we explored not only the two types of humor, but we looked at the two forms. One is sight and one is written. In sight, you have your stand-up comedy, your clowns, your mimes, written editorials, cartoons and all. Ivy came up with you have to excuse my Ivy, it's a New York accent on her,
I know.
okay?
There's a
She
couple
came up with a wonderful line that was a written line that couldn't play if you said it out. But she's
Right.
talking about her brother. Ivy, show your line and then read it out. I think you have to hold it up a little higher. Stand at it, girl. Read your line right out to the camera.
That's good. The
My
camera
brother
can
is
get on
such a sports nut that he changed his name to Jim.
G-Y-M. Now, that's a wonderful written line. That's clever. Thank you,
That's
Ivy.
right. You know,
Okay.
that would be great. I could see that in the cartoons.
Yep.
You know,
Changing
and
it.
that's, yeah, Calvin and
And
Hobbes,
it's
something
subtle.
like
It's
that.
intelligent. It's intelligent.
Sure.
Humor is
You
also
have to
intelligent.
think about it.
Sure. This guy you might know.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. You know, we had to put him in. He had a little nepotism going for himself. Trevor. Trevor started doing something which was kind of interesting. And I kind of, can you hold this a second?
Sure, I can.
I kind of hate when he does this because I keep losing. I guess you want another one, huh? He does this thing about folding paper he found out of a book. And here you go, Trev. He folds paper and can make magnificent animals out of them. And
Yes.
he does this with dollar bills.
You know, those animals have gone to all different parts of this state already. People have been
right.
showing them all over the place.
Sure, but I never get my dollar bills back.
He's a smart kid. See? He knows who to sucker.
I know. In fact, Chris the other day said something. Chris jumped up and said, what, Chris?
I have a trick to do, but it requires a $10 bill.
You guys a $10 bill. That's nice going.
That's a bit of humor.
Yeah. Okay. And Trev, why don't you sit down while you finish that as we talked, and then we can go over and show some of the other kids what they were doing. One-line humor. Now, that's where comedy starts. Starts in a one line. What's a one-liner? Somebody.
It's a short statement with an unexpected ending.
Okay. Well, we heard kids, too.
Yes,
Notice
all
that.
right. You know, they follow the
got
cues.
their stuff
Whoa,
down.
they sure
Give me
do.
something. So we got a one-line statement with an unexpected ending. Give me another component of a one-liner.
Lead in, it leads into the joke and sucks the people in to listen to it.
Sure, we want to perk their interest. Good for you, Amy. What happens next?
It's the diversion, that statement that leads the listener in a different direction.
Yeah, okay. And then finally, two,
It's the ending, which is the surprise ending.
surprise ending. We call those
Zingers.
punchlines. Punchlines, yeah. So the kids did that, and what they did, they can get together. Now, I'm going to put them
Okay.
together for a second,
Okay.
a couple of seconds. Now, you guys, cameras are going to eavesdrop on you. 4 and 5, same groups, come up with a new one-liner. I don't care what the topic is. Now, this is true. They're going to create these one-liners now. They have a batch in their heads and all,
Sure. They can do this, and
Yeah.
we can still keep on going. Now,
and it's cooperative learning.
oh,
They
and
have to come to consensus on this.
you know, now we have a lot of parents watching tonight, and hopefully, and a lot of times you talk about cooperative learning, and they think that they're just at a table, you know, the 4 people, and they get tested that way or whatever. Cooperative learning, I mean, I don't know what you can't do in life or what you do in life that doesn't involve cooperation in some way.
I think parents' concerns are that their child might be working harder than another child.
Right,
all.
and being
But
graded unfairly or something like
If it's
that.
governed correctly, it can work fine.
Sure, sure it
Some of
can.
those inequities do pop up. You try to take care of them.
But the whole thing is, it teaches kids how to collaborate.
Sure.
You know, and take someone else's opinion and state their own and get someone else to try and agree to
And
it.
under pressure.
Right.
10 seconds. Now they know that I'm coming after them in a few seconds. Now
Sure.
we do this over in the class and everything else, and it's wonderful what they come out with. Oh, one is ready already. Look at
All
this.
right, look at this
Okay.
group.
All right. Second group, 5 seconds. And we're in.
Okay.
Okay. Trev?
Okay. What's the difference between roadkill and our school lunch?
I don't know. What's the difference between roadkill and our school lunch?
Roadkill tastes better.
Oh. Oh, you going to get on that cafeteria line tomorrow?
Yeah. Wait
You better
till
pack
those
tomorrow.
cafeteria ladies
Oh.
see you
Good one.
tomorrow.
How about group 2? One-liner? Who's the spokesman?
What happens when you throw a red hat into the blue sea?
I don't know. What happens when you throw a red hat into the blue sea?
Gets wet.
Oh, sillies.
You know what? I have to, let's put a disclaimer in for what Trev just said. He's always raving about the cafeteria food.
Okay.
So I have
We're
to
in
say
trouble.
that,
They're going to
yeah.
come after you tomorrow.
Yeah,
And
right,
me
so-
too,
right,
Trev.
Right, exactly.
But the kids take this even further. We have 2 girls that are coming up who perform a classic routine for you called Who's on First? Now, that's a lot of tricky rhythms in there and tricky words. So if we have enough time or when you're
Well,
ready, we'd
we're
like to
going to
bring
go to a
them on.
commercial break, and then we're going to
Terrific.
bring them on.
Wonderful.
So please stay tuned. We're going to go to a commercial break, and we will see you shortly back to more humor.
High school drama department, we've been working on the famous Abbott and Costello routine. Like I said, it has a lot of tricky words. They're going to perform it for us now. They're 2 wonderful young ladies, Amy Hitch and Tammy Granatino.
You can tell me the names of the players on the Palmerton team. Then when I see them play, I'll know the fellows.
Okay, but they give ball players strange names these days.
Funny names.
Nicknames. On the Palmerton team, who's on first? What's on second? I don't know who's on third.
That's what I'm trying to find out. I want you to tell me the names of the players.
I am telling you who's on first, what's on second, and I don't know who's on third.
You know the fellows' names?
Yes.
Well, who's on first?
Yes.
The guy on first base?
Who?
The guy playing first base for Palmerton?
Who?
The guy on first.
Who is on first?
What are you asking me for?
I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. Who's on first?
I'm asking you who's on first.
Yes.
That's the man's name?
Yeah.
Well, tell me.
Who?
The guy on first.
Who is on first?
The guy on first base.
Who?
Then the guy on first.
That's right.
When they pay the first baseman, who gets the money?
Why not? The man earns it.
Who does?
Yes.
So who gets the money?
Why shouldn't he?
All I'm trying to find out is what's the guy's name on first base.
Oh no. What's on second base?
I'm not asking you who's on second.
Who's on first?
That's what I'm trying to find out.
Well, don't switch the players around.
Okay, what's the guy's name on first?
What's on second?
I'm not asking you who's on second.
Who's on first?
I don't know.
He's on third.
Okay, what's the fellow's name on third?
What's the fella's name on second?
I'm not asking you who's on second.
Who's on first?
I don't know.
Third
base. They got a pitcher on the team?
Of course.
Tell me the pitcher's name.
Tomorrow.
What time?
What's on what?
What time tomorrow will you tell me who's pitching?
Who's not pitching? Who's on first?
I'll break your arm if you say who's on first one more time.
Then why ask?
I want to know who's pitching.
Who's not pitching? Who's on first?
I don't know.
Third base.
Third. They got a catcher?
Yes.
I'm a good catcher. I'd like to play for Palmerton someday.
Maybe you could.
Now, suppose I'm catching. I throw the ball, and tomorrow's pitching, and he throws the ball.
Yes.
I want to throw the guy out at first base, so I pick up the ball and throw it to who?
Yeah.
I don't even know what I'm talking about.
Well, that's all you have to do.
So I throw it to first.
Yes.
Now who's got it?
Naturally.
Who has it?
Naturally.
Naturally.
Naturally. Now you've got it.
I pick up the ball and throw it to naturally.
No, you throw it to first base.
Then who gets it?
Naturally.
Okay, so I pick up the ball and throw it to naturally.
Yeah.
then I throw it to who?
You don't, you throw it so naturally.
Naturally.
Naturally, say it that way.
That's what I did say.
No, you didn't.
I said I threw the ball to naturally.
No, you throw it to first.
Then who's got it?
Yes.
Okay, I throw the ball to first base.
Yeah, naturally.
Who has it?
Naturally.
Naturally.
Naturally, say it that way.
Okay, I throw the ball to first base. Who gets it?
Yes.
Okay. Then who's got it?
Who's got it?
He better get it.
That's it. Now don't get excited.
I throw the ball to first base. Whoever it is grabs the ball. The guy runs to first. Then he runs to second. What throws it to? Who throws it to what? What throws it to? I don't know. I don't know who throws it tomorrow, and it's a triple play.
Yeah, it could be.
And I don't care.
Oh, he's the shortstop.
All right. Very
Good job.
good. Okay, now,
Good job, girls.
in a dialogue, or it's a dialogue like that. When two people, especially like in Abbott and Costello, or like the girls were trying to do there, that's the kind of humor that lives on and on.
Oh, sure. This piece must go back to the early 40s.
I was even going to say before then.
Yeah.
You know, because, and it's something that it just continues to be funny. You can just take that and just sit there and listen to it.
And it's very tricky dialogue. People think it's, simple
Oh,
routine. It's
no,
never-
you've got to really think about
it
that.
goes back and forth. You can see the girls sometimes going, well, who's on first, who's on naturally, and they really get into it and say,
Mm-hmm.
wait a minute, I think you're off. I enjoy what they do, and that's a big step that they just took to work on a piece like that. Everybody likes to get on stage and emote and scream and be emotional and
Yeah.
go up there and try to do some comedy.
That's
it's
tough.
a different bag.
Now, Trev has something done
Yeah.
for us here. Trev, tell us a little bit about these creations and how you learned how to make them. Now, I don't know if you can get a camera shot on there. Walk up a little bit. Go up a little bit and stop and see if the cameras can pick that up. Hold your hand down a little bit. There, you got it. No, that's good. Don't move.
Yep.
Now,
Look at
explain those, Trev.
Okay, well, one's an elephant and one's a peacock, and I learned them from a book called The Buck Book, and it's about $10, but the great thing about it was that you got $1 back in the book.
What kind of books, though, the Buck Book? It's all part of the Klutz series, right?
Yeah.
And tell us a little bit about those Klutz series books,
They're almost all how-to books.
okay? But the whole title deals with kind of making fun
Yeah.
at yourself, right? And showing
Because-
how you can do things. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
because even if you can't do anything right, the class books, they help you do everything.
All the directions are there,
Yeah.
all the sequencing. And anybody wants to know how to make those, you'll gladly do it for another $5, right?
Right.
Sure. You got me for about $12 already.
And his mother.
I know. And he told me the book comes with a buck.
Yes, it does.
Comes with a dollar.
It's sealed
Yeah.
in there, and you have to cut it out, but it
Yeah.
is there. It's real crisp, so he can, it was a great way to learn.
It just goes to the thing. We were talking about going to poetry before.
Mm-hmm.
The kids have worked on limericks. And we can even ask them some questions. Do you guys remember the limericks? Wait a minute, before you bring up the titles, what's a limerick? What's a limerick? Somebody tell me what a limerick is.
A 5-line poem.
5-line poem, but it's got to be more than that. Just 5 lines that rhyme?
Yeah, anybody can do 5-line poem.
First two and the last line, and then the two and another line.
Sure, the first 2, last one rhymes, 2 in the middle rhyme, right? Okay, you guys, Ivy, hold up that poster. You guys look at those things. Hold it up, hold it still now. Okay?
Straight up,
Okay.
down.
On Tuesday, we ran out of cream when the bicycle tire went flat. There once was a rapper named Rob. When the microwave exploded, there once was a sheepdog named Rusty.
Dusty.
Dusty, excuse me. Okay, I'm rhyming it already. You two groups, go back in a group. There's paper and pencil there. Camera's going to eavesdrop on you a little bit. Come up with a limerick. You can use these titles or one of your own.
Now again, they're in the cooperative learning groups.
Yeah.
They're going to create limericks just from those topics. These are not things that they've done before.
Well, they've worked
with limericks,
before, but they're
it's
going to
just
come from
right,
topics
exactly,
they haven't seen.
right. And they've got to come up with 5 lines.
5 lines.
First 2 lines have to rhyme, then the next 2, and then that last one has to go back and
To the
rhyme with
first
the
one.
first.
Sure.
Right.
And it gets a little difficult as they get in there. They get those
Sure it
first 2
does.
done, the second 2. It's like making 2 couplets, and when they have to attach the 5th, it does get a little under. But again, it's a great introduction, a nice way to introduce poetry. Instead of going to something heavy. Every year when I introduce the poetry unit, I feel terrible because there's always a poem, as I mentioned earlier, that I'm killing because you're taking it apart. Poetry shouldn't be taken apart. It should be just felt. But for the kids to start learning the feeling of poetry, you have to take it apart. Now, I'm not going to talk about the feet and the
Iambic
meters and the
pentameter and all
yeah.
that kind of stuff.
It's the feeling that counts.
Right.
It's what's the poem saying.
Well, most times, too, when a kid first learns a poem, that's the whole, I mean, they get that rhythm going and they want to do the rhyming. And that's how they associate poetry.
Yep.
I mean, eventually poetry gets away. I mean, there may be no rhyming in there at all.
Yep.
It just has a lot of
What did
feeling.
we start off reading in our first little time in life? Poems.
Poems,
were
that's
read.
right.
The little fairy tale. Jack and Jill went up the hill. Peter, Pumpkinita. All these were poems, and we loved them when
Mary,
we were
Mary,
kids.
quite
Then we
contrary.
start disliking them. We don't like poetry. Somewhere along the line, somebody
But you know,
pushed it at us the
we
wrong
remember
way.
those
Sure, we remember those.
because they were cute, they were
Yeah.
simple to remember, and we could picture them in our minds,
Sure,
too.
and we know now, as we're older and we're educated, we understand that they had other
Sure.
meanings and all, but just the poem itself, it falls in. Even if they could do that with some of their learning when they're going to test or anything
Well, you know,
else,
that is
it
a great
falls in
memory
nice.
technique.
Yeah.
It's a mnemonic, and you can use that. And I know I've taught that many times, how
Sure.
kids to
and,
use.
And they do fine on it.
Sure they do.
Yeah. I
But
have
it's usually funny, silly, and dumb
Yeah.
types of things,
Well,
and we remember
I'm
that.
glad you said that, Anita, because that's a heck of a cue into our next bit.
And that sure is.
These kids have all learned a humorous poem. And when they come back from their limericks, we hear their limericks, I'd like them all to do their little humorous
Okay.
poem. It's the life of little humorous poems. Some go nowhere, some go places, but they do a wonderful little thing on it.
How much time do we have on this
Well,
yet?
do tell me. I'll give them, whoa.
Oh, I think
Group
we're done.
1 sneaking in there. Group 2 is usually trying
30
to function.
seconds.
What do we got, 30 seconds?
30 seconds,
well,
yep.
We could fill 30 seconds, couldn't we?
Oh, sure we can.
The way you and I talk, we can probably fill a couple of days.
This is very true. This is very, very true.
Again, this was stimulated by the kids looking at humor and saying, you know, this kind of humor is hurtful, but this kind is not. If they get that, that's the stepping stone to the rest. This is what the main theme of what I'm trying to do is. And these are very brave young ladies and gentlemen.
You're not kidding.
They are 8th graders who have people all around them saying, oh, geez, you know, that's boring.
Yeah.
They're stepping out to do this.
And they're
I
knowing.
compliment every one
That's
of them.
right.
I love
I
them.
do too.
Yeah.
Okay, they're all
Okay,
done.
guys, you're
Let's
on.
see it.
You guys ready? Okay, who's your spokesman? Okay,
Okay.
Amy, come on, stand up.
Stand up, please. Loud and clear.
Nice and clear to the camera. Don't put the paper in front of your beautiful face.
Yep.
Okay, there once was a sheepdog named Dusty. The color of his fur was rusty. He got real old and covered with mold. Now his name is Musty.
All right. Very good.
Good one. Who's spokesperson for?
Oh,
Okay, Leanne.
On Tuesday, we ran out of cream. My mom let out a big scream. We didn't know what to do, so we had to use glue. Then I woke up. It was all a big dream.
Okay.
Very
Good.
good. All right.
Good.
And you know,
Okay.
those are great limericks. I mean, years ago, I can remember some limericks, and they weren't so great.
No, I know it. Everybody has that feeling
That
about
connotation.
Concentration. Oh, that big word you said.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah. Anyway, everybody has that kind of feeling about them. They always, but there was a whole slew of that. Here we just heard a couple that moved over to high humor.
Right.
Fun. Limericks. And the kids creating.
And we could associate
Yeah.
to them. All right, let's hear the poetry.
Okay. Everybody stand up in place. Okay? We'll do these poems right from, starting with Amy. Now, everybody don't cover, go ahead. All right, see if you can go into your line. I think you'll have enough if you stay
Amy,
tight.
if you come this way a little bit, Amy. Amy.
Amy, move down this way a little bit. Okay.
Okay, that's good.
Kristen, get in there. Trev, kneel down. And Chris, kneel down. Okay, starting with Amy, nice and loud to the camera.
Go ahead.
Griselda Gratz had 60 cats. She fed them very well on angel cake and raisin flakes and acorns in a shell. Her furry crowd patrolled me out about her tiny house. Griselda Gratz had 60 cats, catch a single mouse.
Very good.
Mary had a little lamb, a lobster and some prunes, a piece of pie, a glass of milk, and then some macaroons. It made the naughty waiters grin to see her order so, and when they carried Mary out, her face was white as snow.
Come see the thing that Dad has caught. Oh, yuck, don't even bother. For it's not as dead as Dad had thought, and now we're mine as father.
Grandpa dropped his glasses once into a pot of dye, and when he put them on again, he saw a purple sky. Purple fires were rising up from a purple hill. Men were grinding purple cider from a purple mill. Purple Adeline was playing with her purple dolls. Purple dragonflies were crawling up the walls. And at the supper table, he got crazy as a loon from eating purple dumplings with a purple spoon.
Very good.
Draw a crazy picture, write an Eddie poem. Do a mumble jumble song, whistle through your comb. Do a loony goony dance across the kitchen floor. Put something crazy in the world that ain't been there before.
The vulture eats between his meals, and that's the reason why he very, very rarely feels as well as you and I. His eye is dull, his head is bald, his neck is growing thinner. Oh, what a lesson for us all to only eat at dinner.
Old Johnny Five and Johnny's way, to save their toes and heels, they built themselves a little house that ran on rolling wheels. They hung their parrot at the door, punny painted ring, and round and round the world they went, never missed a thing. When they wished to eat, they ate, and after they had fed, they crawled beneath the crazy quilt and gaily went to bed. What they cared to keep they kept, and what they both did not, they both beneath the picket fence and quietly forgot. Oh, Johnny Five and Johnny's wife, they took their brush and comb, and round the world they went, and also stayed at home.
Very good. Trev?
They strolled down the lane together. The sky was studded with stars.
The other line, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go, Leanne.
Opened up the gate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then he turned to her and looked lovingly, but she did not look back because she was...
She was a Jersey cow and he was a farmer's boy.
Okay, Trev. Go ahead, Leanne.
The buffalo had a terrible snuffle. Oh, and not a single Indian chief will lend him a handkerchief, which shows how very, very far from courtesy some people are.
Very good. Excellent.
Good. We'll all sit down now.
Yes,
Good.
very good.
We've been talking about the aesthetics, good humor, social behavior with Roy, but it also is quite interesting because it can teach humor. It can teach English.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the best things to teach English.
Oh, sure it is. We have a play, as you know, called Pages.
Yes. Yeah, I think you should tell the audience a little bit about Pages.
Pages is a wonderful show which tries to stimulate reading amongst the K to 6 group. That's kindergarten to
Through sixth grade.
We presented it in November for the first time to 1,300 kids. But what makes this play different is that it's a play that you read while you're watching the play. There are certain sections that you'll read. And it's very interactive with the audience.
Right, you get a lot of participation
Oh,
here.
tremendous participation. That's what makes it work. In fact, if I can put a little plug in, this Saturday, April 9th, the Drama Guild of Palmerton is performing it at Nazareth High School, and there's 1,500 people coming to that show.
All right.
So we're kind of proud that the kids are doing that, and it'll be on television on May 15 on another channel.
Well, yeah, it's okay. We can,
We can
we'll
mention
say
those
that.
other channels?
Yeah,
Or we
once
can
in a
just
while.
say,
Yeah, it's
but
on another channel,
It's on
but
another
you'll find
channel.
it.
May
That's right.
15 on a Sunday night about 7:30.
Right.
On another channel. After you watch this one, go to that
Yeah,
one and
right.
see that.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. But a section of that show we do what is called as a Mad Lib. And what happens in this section, the play is about Sassy Goose, Mother Goose's naughty sister, who's really the troublemaker. And she has to find out why reading is important. And in the course of this, she's at the library and she runs into the big bad wolf. And he explains from his point of view the Little Red Riding Hood story. She can't take it. She goes outside on the street because she just has to get a breath of air. And the big bad wolf is heading for Grandma's house. She breaks her shoelace, bends over, and a big red car comes out, hits her, and she goes flying off stage. But what happens is the policeman arrives, and so do the witnesses. And, rather than tell you, I think I'd like to introduce some kids.
Let's do that.
Have we got time for
Sure.
this?
Yeah, let's
Okay.
bring
I'd like to
those on.
introduce Dawn Dunbar
Okay.
and Jessica Hitch and Tammy Granatino, who you saw play in the Abbott and Costello routine.
Right.
And they're going to take their places now on each side of the stage. And this happens right after, just move out a little more and come into the scene.
That's right.
Okay? So you can stay out there. This happens right after the wolf hits Sassy in the fanny and flies off stage. Dawn comes charging on stage as the Keystone Cop, wanting to know what happens. And the ladies come in. Dawn, why don't you pick it up from that cue there?
Okay, what is going on here? Officer, I saw the whole thing. The wolf came speeding down the street and hit that poor old lady.
No, that's what happened. The sign back there clearly read, "Don't walk." She didn't read the sign and stepped right out into the street.
Officer,
That was
sit
her fault.
down.
Hold on.
Okay, Officer Dunbar here. What do you need, Chief?
We've got big trouble. I have to put out an all-points bulletin, but the report I received is missing words.
Missing words?
Yes, we have blanks where some of the words belong.
Chief, do you have any idea what the missing words might be?
Well, I can tell by the sentence what part of speech is missing.
Chief, I have an idea. Okay, you give us this part of speech you need, and we'll have someone supply the word. You two will help, won't you?
I think I'll do it.
Let's go. Okay, now we need the words.
Okay, the first thing I need is the name of a boy.
Okay, we need the name of a boy. Excuse me, little girl, are you married? No. Do you have a boyfriend? No. Do you know any boys? Yeah. Can you give me the name of a boy? Chris. The name of a boy is Chris. Okay, it's Chris. What do you need next?
I need an adjective.
Adjective. Oh yeah! An adjective is a word that describes something. Like if I said, look at the beautiful bluebirds. Beautiful because it describes the bluebirds would be an adjective.
You, stand up. You look like a smart kid. Can you give me an adjective?
Ugly. Ugly. The adjective is ugly.
I need two nouns.
Two nouns. No sweat. Everybody knows what a noun is. It's a person, place, or thing.
You, can you give me two nouns?
Car and frog.
Car and frog.
The nouns are car and frog. What's next?
The report is starting to look pretty good. Now I need the name of a specific place.
A specific place. You, Mr. Cop, I got a boy here who can give us the name of a place.
Allentown.
Allentown. The place is Allentown.
Great. The report is looking great. Okay. Calling all cars. Be on the lookout for Chris. He is wearing an ugly suit, a gray car, and carrying an old brown frog. He was last seen in the vicinity of Allentown, waving a loaded chia pet. He is charged with holding up a store and running off with the owner's dog. He is accused of stealing a 1955 Thighmaster and a sleazy peanut. It is advisable to approach this man with extreme caution, as he has been known to carry a loaded rubber band. He uses the alias Henry the Horse and has been known to disguise himself as a horse. Watch out for this corny criminal, that's all.
Okay.
All right.
Chrissy, run out here quick. Come on the set.
Yeah.
Come in. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our assistant director today, Chrissy Miller, who's done such a fine job and plays
And she's
the
done-
offstage voice of the police chief.
Right.
Now, in the interest of time, as we were running
Yeah,
down in
yeah,
this
we got
bit,
it,
we skipped some of the lines, and the kids were looking at what we skipped on.
Right.
But you all did a wonderful job. What do you think about
All
what they
right.
did?
Very good. And we're going to a commercial break, and we're going to be right back, so please stay tuned for the end of humor.
It only takes one time.
Yeah, but I don't deal with just anybody. I check them out real good first before I let them get close to me.
You can't tell if somebody's got AIDS. I mean, it gets inside your body, and before you know it, crash and burn. It kills. It's invisible.
Okay, I get it. Maybe I should worry about...
Worrying about AIDS won't keep you alive.
You gotta learn about AIDS. It's like dancing with death. You get it, you're through. Teens who get AIDS never grow up. Get the facts. Call 1-800-662-6080.
Now, we are back, and please write Communicate with me at Communicate with Your Education System, 936 Elm Street, Lehighton, Pennsylvania, 18235, or call me in the Lehighton Area School District, and I would be glad to take any of your comments, concerns, questions, or ideas for future shows. It may be tough to top this one. Now, we're going to come back to a few of Ben's students here, and we're going to talk a little bit about humor. Before we go to that, though, I just want to say that the cut that they did in the last 2 minutes was dealing with Mad Libs. You can buy those in any bookstores. They are a great way of teaching kids adjectives, nouns, grammar, whatever. Okay, Ben, let's finish up here with
Okay. What we did here
what people are aware
was
of.
to remember the 3 basic things that we're trying to achieve. 1, humor is good when it's not hurtful. 2, humor can help you learn. And 3, humor helps keep things peaceful.
It sure does.
Boy, that's kind of a nice thought. Anybody disagree with those thoughts?
They better not.
They better not. We'll have to fight over it.
That's
okay.
right.
You can put that down there.
And I want to thank this group of students. They were wonderful. And Ben, you were a great guest.
Thank you.
And
Thank you
I
for
hope
having us.
everybody keeps smiling, and that way no one will ever have wrinkles.
And how?
And please stay tuned for more of Communicate with Your Education every Monday at 6:30. And I'm sure you'll keep smiling.